A deal in the shadows. In the dimly lit alleyways of New Haven City, where neon lights flickered like dying stars against the backdrop of crumbling concrete, Leo found himself cornered once again. The air was thick with tension as he pressed his back against the cold brick wall, heart racing from more than just fear. He was out of options. "Leo," a voice barked from the shadows. It was Marco, one of his many creditors who had grown tired of waiting for repayment. "You think you can just disappear? You owe us." Leo clenched his fists, feeling the familiar rush of adrenaline that came with being hunted. He had been a fighter all his life, first in the streets for survival and then in underground rings for money, but this was different. This was not just about fighting, it was about his life. "Listen, Marco," Leo said through gritted teeth, "I'll get you your money. Just give me some time." "Time's up." Marco snarled, stepping closer with two burly men flanking him. They were ready to collect in more ways than one. With no other choice, Leo turned on his heel and sprinted down the alleyway, dodging trash cans and debris as he raced toward freedom. He could hear their footsteps pounding behind him, a relentless reminder that his past was catching up. As he rounded a corner into another alleyway that led to an abandoned warehouse district, he spotted an old maintenance door slightly ajar. Without thinking twice, he dove inside just as Marco's men shouted behind him. Inside the warehouse, darkness enveloped him like a shroud. The air smelled stale and musty, remnants of forgotten machinery lay scattered about like ghosts of a bygone era. He pressed himself against a wall to catch his breath, straining to listen for any sign of pursuit. Suddenly, a strange humming noise filled the air, soft at first but growing louder by the second. Cautiously peeking around a rusted metal beam, Leo saw an unusual sight: glowing symbols etched into what appeared to be an ancient door at the far end of the warehouse. Curiosity piqued despite his precarious situation, he stepped closer to investigate. The symbols pulsed rhythmically as if alive, their blue light beckoned him like a siren's call. "What is this?" he muttered under his breath before reaching out to touch one of the symbols. The moment his fingers made contact with the glowing mark, a surge of energy shot through him like lightning. The door rippled before him as if it were made of water rather than solid stone. "Whoa!" Leo stumbled back but felt an inexplicable pull toward it, a sense that this could be his escape from everything that haunted him. Just then, Marco's voice echoed through the warehouse as they entered searching for him. "He's here somewhere. Find him." With no time to think further, Leo took a leap of faith and stepped through the shimmering portal. The world around him dissolved into blinding light, he felt weightless as if he were being stretched across dimensions. When he landed with a thud on hard ground moments later, he gasped for air as he took in his surroundings. He was no longer in New Haven City but rather in an expansive chamber illuminated by ethereal light emanating from crystalline structures towering above him. Where am I?" he whispered in awe. Before he could gather his thoughts completely, a figure emerged from behind one of the glowing pillars, a tall woman with striking features and skin that shimmered like amethyst under the light. "Who dares enter my sanctuary?" she demanded with authority that sent shivers down Leo's spine. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to intrude," he stammered, instinctively raising his hands in surrender despite feeling more curious than afraid. The woman studied him intently with eyes that glowed like stars against her dark hair cascading down her back. "You are not from here." "No," Leo admitted cautiously. I'm from Earth." She stepped closer, her presence was commanding yet strangely captivating. "Earth? I have heard tales of your world but never thought I would encounter one of its inhabitants." Leo felt compelled to explain himself further, but before he could speak again, she continued with an air of disdain mixed with curiosity. "You are weak, pathetically so by our standards." "Thanks for that," he replied sarcastically, but couldn't help but feel intrigued by her presence despite her harsh words. "I am Zara," she introduced herself finally after assessing him thoroughly. "Last diplomat of my kind. Nice to meet you. I guess?" Leo replied awkwardly, still trying to process everything around him, the glowing crystals, the pulsing energy in the air, and most importantly why this alien diplomat had appeared before him. Zara regarded him thoughtfully before speaking again with an unexpected softness in her voice. You are here because fate has deemed it so. What do you mean? He furrowed his brow at her cryptic words. There is much at stake, she said gravely as she gestured toward the chamber filled with strange machinery humming softly around them. My world is on the brink of destruction due to an impending war between factions vying for power. Leo's heart raced at her words. This was far beyond anything he had anticipated when running away from debt collectors back on Earth. What do you want from me? I need someone with your skills, she replied matter-of-factly as if it were obvious. A fighter who can navigate through chaos and help restore balance. Me? A fighter? He couldn't help but chuckle nervously at how ridiculous it sounded, even though years spent surviving on the streets had honed those very skills she spoke of. Yes, she insisted, firmly meeting his gaze head-on with those luminous eyes that seemed to pierce through him like lasers cutting through darkness. In exchange for your assistance in saving my people from annihilation, I can offer you something you desperately need, a chance at redemption. Leo paused. Redemption was something he had long given up hope on ever finding again after all that had happened back home, the debts piling up higher than skyscrapers and betrayal lurking around every corner like shadows ready to swallow him whole. What kind of deal are we talking about? He asked, cautiously intrigued yet wary about making any promises too soon. Zara stepped closer until they were mere inches apart, her voice lowered almost conspiratorially as she outlined her proposal. An alliance forged not just out of necessity but also hope, for both their futures hung precariously in balance amidst uncertainty swirling like storm clouds overhead, waiting to unleash chaos upon them both if they failed. The unlikely alliance. Leo stood before Zara, the alien diplomat, feeling a mix of trepidation and excitement. The air between them crackled with unspoken possibilities as she laid out her proposal. You will help me save my people, and in return, I will protect you and grant you the means to reclaim your life, she stated, her voice steady and commanding. What exactly do you need me for? Leo asked, trying to mask his nervousness. He had fought many battles in his life, but this was different. The stakes were higher than ever before. Zara took a step closer, her violet skin shimmering under the ethereal light of the chamber. My planet is on the brink of war with a rival faction led by Kira, a warrior who seeks to dominate our resources and enslave my people. We need a fighter who can infiltrate their ranks and gather intelligence. Leo's mind raced. He had always been a fighter for survival, but espionage was a different game altogether. I'm not a spy, he replied cautiously. Yet you are resourceful and skilled in combat, Zara countered. You have survived in an unforgiving world, that speaks volumes about your capabilities. He considered her words. Back on Earth, survival meant adapting to ever-changing circumstances, something he had done well enough to stay alive. Perhaps this was an opportunity to turn his life around, to gain not just redemption but also purpose. All right, Leo finally agreed, I'll help you. But I want to know more about this Kira and what I'm getting into. Zara nodded, appreciating his willingness. Kira is a formidable opponent, a master tactician with an army of loyal followers. She thrives on chaos and fear. As she spoke, images of Kira flashed in Leo's mind, a fierce warrior with piercing eyes and an aura of power that demanded respect. Where do we start? Leo asked, feeling the weight of the task ahead. We must first gather information about Kira's stronghold, Zara replied. I have contacts within the city who can assist us. As they began formulating their plan, Leo felt a sense of camaraderie growing between them. Zara was not just an alien diplomat, she was passionate about her people and determined to fight for their freedom. In that moment, Leo realized that he could trust her. Training begins. Days turned into weeks as Leo immersed himself in Zara's world. They spent hours training together, Zara teaching him how to harness the alien energy that flowed through the environment while he shared his combat techniques from Earth. One afternoon, they found themselves in a secluded training ground surrounded by towering crystalline structures that hummed with energy. Zara demonstrated how to manipulate the energy around them into protective shields and offensive blasts. "Feel the energy," she instructed, her voice calm yet firm. "It's all around you, tap into it." Leo closed his eyes, focusing on the pulsating energy surrounding him. At first, it felt foreign and overwhelming, but gradually he began to sense its rhythm, a heartbeat that matched his own. "Now channel it," Zara urged as she created a shimmering barrier around herself. Leo opened his eyes and extended his hands outward, willing the energy to respond. To his astonishment, a faint glow began to form around him, a flickering shield that barely held its shape. "Good. You're getting there." Zara encouraged him with a smile that lit up her features. As they trained together day after day, Leo found himself drawn not just to Zara's strength but also to her vulnerability. She shared stories of her people, their rich culture and history, and Leo began to understand the weight of responsibility she carried on her shoulders. The arrival of Kira. One evening, as they were wrapping up their training session, Zara received urgent news from one of her contacts. Kira had launched an attack on one of their outlying settlements. "We have no time to lose," Zara said urgently as they prepared for their journey. "We must defend our people." Leo felt a surge of adrenaline as they set out toward the settlement. The landscape shifted around them, lush greenery giving way to rocky terrain as they approached the site of conflict. When they arrived, chaos reigned. Buildings were ablaze, cries of panic filled the air as citizens fled from Kira's forces, soldiers clad in dark armor wielding weapons that crackled with energy. "Stay close," Zara shouted over the din as they navigated through the chaos. Leo's heart raced as he spotted Kira at the center of it all, a striking figure with long silver hair flowing behind her like smoke and eyes that glinted with malice. She commanded her troops with confidence, orchestrating destruction effortlessly. "We need to create a diversion," Leo suggested urgently as they crouched behind a crumbling wall. Zara nodded in agreement. "If we can draw Kira's attention away from the civilians, we can help them escape." With determination coursing through him, Leo formulated a plan. "I'll create a distraction while you help evacuate the citizens." "Are you sure?" Zara asked, concern etched on her face. "I've faced worse odds before," he replied confidently despite the fear gnawing at him inside. As they executed their plan, Leo charged into the fray, his instincts kicking in as he fought off Kira's soldiers with agility and precision. He could feel the energy coursing through him now, each strike resonated with power as he absorbed their attacks and redirected them back at his foes. Meanwhile, Zara worked tirelessly alongside other defenders to guide civilians away from danger, her presence calming amidst chaos as she rallied them toward safety. Facing Kira. In the midst of battle, Leo finally found himself face-to-face with Kira, a confrontation he had anticipated but never truly believed would happen. "You're brave for a human," Kira taunted with an icy smile as she stepped forward confidently. "But bravery alone won't save you." "I'm not here to be saved," Leo shot back defiantly as he readied himself for combat. With that declaration hanging in the air like tension before a storm, they clashed, Kira's movements fluid and precise as she wielded her weapon against him while Leo countered with everything he had learned from Zara. The fight was intense, each blow exchanged resonated with power and purpose as they danced through debris and flames, the world around them fading into insignificance compared to their clash of wills. Just when it seemed like Kira had gained the upper hand, Leo remembered Zara's teachings about harnessing energy, the very essence that flowed through everything around them. He focused intently on absorbing Kira's strikes rather than blocking them outright. Each impact fueled him further until he felt ready for one final push. With renewed determination coursing through him like wildfire igniting every nerve ending in his body, Leo unleashed a powerful surge, a wave of energy that knocked Kira off balance momentarily before he followed up with an explosive strike that sent her sprawling backward. Breathless yet triumphant, Leo stood over her defeated form, realizing that this battle was only just beginning but feeling empowered by what lay ahead, an alliance forged not just out of necessity but also friendship, a bond stronger than any weapon could sever. Betrayal and redemption. The aftermath of the skirmish with Kira left Leo feeling exhilarated yet haunted by the chaos he had witnessed. As the dust settled, he found Zara tending to the injured citizens, her expression a mix of determination and concern. He had fought bravely, but the weight of their mission pressed heavily on his shoulders. They had won this battle, but Kira was still out there, and the war was far from over. "Leo!" Zara called out, her voice cutting through the haze of adrenaline. "We need to regroup and plan our next move." He nodded, shaking off the remnants of battle as he approached her. "What's our status? Did we lose anyone?" "Not today," she replied, relief washing over her features. "But Kira will retaliate. We must act quickly." As they gathered with the remaining defenders, Leo felt a sense of camaraderie growing among them. They were united by a common goal, protecting their home from Kira's tyranny. Yet, beneath that unity lay an undercurrent of fear. Everyone knew that Kira would not rest until she had exacted revenge. A dangerous proposition. That night, as they huddled around a flickering fire in a hidden enclave, Zara shared her thoughts on their next steps. "We need to infiltrate Kira's stronghold and gather intelligence on her plans," she said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Leo leaned forward, intrigued yet cautious. "How do we do that? Her fortress is heavily guarded." Zara glanced around at their companions before continuing. "I have a contact who can help us, a former member of Kira's faction who defected after realizing her true intentions." "Sounds risky," Leo replied, feeling a knot tighten in his stomach. Betrayal was a familiar theme in his life. He had seen too many people turn against each other for power or survival. "It is," Zara acknowledged. "But it's our best chance to gain an advantage." As they discussed their plan, Leo couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into a trap. He had learned to trust his instincts over the years, and something about this contact felt off. Yet, he pushed those thoughts aside. They needed to act decisively if they were to stand any chance against Kira. The meeting. The following day, they set out toward the outskirts of the city where Zara's contact was supposed to meet them. The air was thick with tension as they navigated through abandoned streets lined with crumbling buildings, a stark reminder of what was at stake. When they arrived at the designated meeting spot, a dilapidated warehouse, Leo felt a sense of foreboding wash over him. "Are you sure this is the right place?" he asked Zara, scanning their surroundings for any signs of danger. "It is," she assured him, though her eyes betrayed a flicker of uncertainty. Moments later, a figure emerged from the shadows, a tall woman with striking features and an air of confidence that immediately put Leo on edge. She wore dark clothing that blended seamlessly with her surroundings, and her eyes glinted with intelligence. "I'm Kira," she introduced herself with a smirk that sent chills down Leo's spine. "Wait," Leo interjected as realization dawned on him. "You're not Zara's contact." Kira laughed softly, her voice dripping with mockery. "Smart boy. I've been watching you both for some time now." Zara stepped in front of Leo protectively, her expression fierce. "What do you want?" "To offer you a deal," Kira replied casually as if discussing the weather. "Join me, and I can ensure your survival in this world." Leo felt his blood boil at her audacity. "You think we'd ever side with you?" Kira shrugged nonchalantly. "You're outmatched and outnumbered. I can offer you power beyond your wildest dreams, if you're willing to betray your principles." Zara glared at Kira defiantly. "I would never betray my people." "Then you're both fools," Kira sneered before stepping back into the shadows from which she came. The aftermath. As they returned to their hideout after the encounter with Kira, Leo couldn't shake off the unease that settled in his gut. "We need to be careful," he warned Zara as they sat down to discuss their next steps. "I know," she replied, her brow furrowed in thought. "Kira is playing a dangerous game. Do you think she has spies among us?" Leo asked cautiously. "It's possible," Zara admitted grimly. "We must remain vigilant." Days passed as they prepared for their next move against Kira while keeping their defenses tight against potential infiltration. However, tension hung heavy in the air, every creak and whisper felt like an omen. Then one fateful night, as they gathered around a fire sharing stories to lift spirits, an unexpected visitor arrived, a young man named Jace who claimed to have information about Kira's plans. "I overheard something important," Jace said breathlessly as he entered their camp unannounced. "Kira is planning an attack on your main settlement within days." Leo exchanged worried glances with Zara. This was exactly what they had feared. "We need to warn everyone," Zara exclaimed urgently. "No," Jace interjected quickly. "You don't understand. If we warn them now without proper preparation, it could lead to chaos." "What do you suggest then?" Leo demanded impatiently. "We need to strike first," Jace proposed confidently. "If we can ambush Kira's forces before they reach your settlement, we can turn the tide in our favor." Zara hesitated but saw determination in Jace's eyes, something she recognized from her own resolve to protect her people. "All right," she finally agreed after weighing their options carefully. "But we need a solid plan if we're going to succeed." The plan. Over the next few days, Leo worked alongside Zara and Jace to devise a strategy for their ambush against Kira's forces. They scouted locations where they could set traps and gather allies willing to fight alongside them. As tension mounted leading up to the planned attack date, Leo found himself reflecting on his journey thus far, how far he had come from being just another fighter struggling for survival back on Earth. Yet doubts lingered in his mind. Could he truly trust Zara and Jace? What if betrayal lurked just around the corner? On the eve of their ambush, Leo stood alone outside their encampment gazing up at the stars shining brightly above, a stark contrast to the darkness looming ahead. "Hey," Zara approached quietly breaking him from his thoughts. "You alright?" He sighed deeply before responding honestly, "I'm just thinking about everything, about how quickly things can change." She nodded understandingly as she joined him under the starlit sky, two warriors bound by fate yet haunted by uncertainty. "We'll get through this together," Zara reassured him gently placing a hand on his shoulder, her warmth grounding him amidst chaos swirling within his mind. "Yeah, together," Leo echoed feeling grateful for her presence but still wary of what lay ahead. The impending battle against Kira would test not only their skills but also their resolve. The battle for survival. The days leading up to the ambush were a blur of preparation and tension. Leo, Zara, and Jace worked tirelessly, gathering allies and setting traps around the outskirts of the settlement. Each night, Leo lay awake, replaying their plan in his mind, but doubt gnawed at him like a persistent shadow. Would they be ready for Kira's forces? Would they even survive? On the morning of the ambush, the air was thick with anticipation. Leo stood at the edge of their camp, watching as the sun rose over the horizon, casting a golden hue across the landscape. He could hear the distant sounds of nature waking up, a stark contrast to the chaos that was about to unfold. "Are you ready?" Zara approached him, her expression serious yet resolute. "I guess as ready as I'll ever be," Leo replied, forcing a smile despite the anxiety bubbling within him. "What's our signal?" "We'll use a flare," she explained, holding up a small device that glinted in the sunlight. "Once we see Kira's forces approaching, I'll launch it into the air. That's your cue to spring into action." Leo nodded, feeling a surge of adrenaline at the thought of facing Kira again. This time, he wouldn't just be defending, he would be fighting back. The calm before the storm. As they waited in their hidden positions, Leo couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. He glanced at Zara and Jace, who were going over their final plans one last time. The tension in the air was palpable, everyone could sense that this was it, the moment they had been preparing for. "Leo," Jace said suddenly, interrupting his thoughts. "You need to stay focused. Remember your training." "I know," Leo replied, shaking off his apprehension. "I just can't help but feel like we're walking into a trap." "Then we'll turn it into an opportunity," Zara interjected confidently. "We've prepared for this, we're ready." Just then, a distant rumble echoed across the landscape, like thunder rolling in from afar. Leo's heart raced as he peered through the brush toward the horizon. There they were, Kira's forces marching forward in disciplined formation, dark armor glinting ominously under the sun. "Get ready," Zara hissed as she raised the flare launcher high above her head. As she launched it into the air, a bright red flare erupted against the blue sky, a signal that sent adrenaline coursing through Leo's veins. It was time. The ambush begins. Leo sprang into action alongside Zara and Jace as they charged toward Kira's advancing troops. The element of surprise was on their side, they had positioned themselves strategically among trees and rocks to catch Kira's forces off guard. "Now!" Zara shouted as they unleashed their attack, arrows flew from hidden archers while energy blasts erupted from concealed positions. Chaos erupted as Kira's soldiers scrambled to respond. Leo fought with all his might, drawing on everything he had learned since arriving in this alien world. He dodged and weaved through enemy lines, absorbing energy from their attacks and redirecting it back at them. "Keep pushing," Jace yelled as he took down another soldier with swift precision. But just as victory seemed within reach, Leo noticed something out of place, a group of soldiers flanking them from behind, cutting off their escape routes. "Kira anticipated us," he shouted to Zara as they fought back-to-back against their foes. "We have to hold our ground," she replied fiercely, determination etched on her face. Facing Kira again. Amidst the chaos of battle, Leo spotted Kira herself, standing tall and commanding at the forefront of her troops. Her silver hair flowed like liquid metal in the wind as she surveyed her forces with an air of confidence that sent chills down Leo's spine. "Leo!" Zara called out urgently as she fought off an approaching soldier. "We have to take her down." With renewed resolve coursing through him, Leo pushed forward through the throng of bodies until he found himself standing before Kira once more, their eyes locking in a fierce battle of wills. "You think you can defeat me?" Kira taunted with a smirk. "You're just a weak human playing at being a warrior." "Maybe," Leo shot back defiantly as he assumed a fighting stance. "But I'm not backing down." Kira laughed mockingly before launching herself at him with blinding speed. Their clash echoed through the battlefield as energy crackled around them, their movements fluid yet powerful. Leo fought with everything he had learned from Zara, absorbing energy from Kira's attacks while redirecting it back at her with increasing skill. But she was relentless, each strike pushed him further back until he felt himself faltering. "You're stronger than I expected," Kira admitted begrudgingly as they circled each other like predators sizing up their prey. "But strength alone won't save you." A turning point. Just when it seemed like defeat was imminent, Leo remembered his training, Zara's lessons about harnessing energy and channeling it effectively. He focused on absorbing Kira's strikes rather than resisting them outright, each impact fueled him further until he felt ready for one final push. With a roar that echoed across the battlefield, Leo unleashed a powerful surge, a wave of energy that knocked Kira off balance momentarily before following up with an explosive strike that sent her sprawling backward. Breathless yet triumphant, he stood over her defeated form, realizing that this battle was only just beginning but feeling empowered by what lay ahead, an alliance forged not just out of necessity but also friendship, a bond stronger than any weapon could sever. "Now is our chance," Zara shouted as she rallied their allies to push forward against Kira's remaining forces while Leo caught his breath. Together they fought valiantly against overwhelming odds, each ally standing firm against Kira's soldiers until finally victory seemed within reach once more. But just when it appeared they would emerge victorious, betrayal revealed. A sudden explosion rocked the battlefield, a deafening blast that sent shockwaves through their ranks. Dust and debris filled the air as screams echoed around them. Confusion reigned supreme amidst chaos once more. What just happened? Jace shouted over the din as he struggled to regain his footing. I don't know. Zara yelled back, desperately scanning for answers amidst swirling dust clouds obscuring visibility completely. Then from within those clouds emerged figures clad in dark armor, reinforcements for Kira led by none other than Jace himself. What are you doing? Zara gasped incredulously, stepping back in shock as realization dawned upon her face. The betrayal cut deeper than any blade ever could. I'm sorry, Jace said coldly, his expression devoid of remorse while pointing his weapon directly at them both, his true allegiance revealed at last, the very person they had trusted most now standing against them. Leo felt rage boiling within him but knew better than to act rashly. This wasn't just about survival anymore, it was about fighting back against betrayal itself. Why? Zara demanded, tears brimming in her eyes despite her fierce demeanor remaining intact even now, facing betrayal head-on without flinching once. We trusted you. It was never personal, Jace replied dismissively, stepping closer toward Kira, who now stood regaining composure after being knocked down earlier by Leo's strike, her eyes glinting with triumph over this unexpected turn of events. A new beginning. The battlefield lay in ruins, littered with the remnants of conflict and betrayal. Leo stood amidst the chaos, heart pounding as he processed the shocking revelation of Jace's betrayal. The air was thick with dust and tension, and the cries of wounded allies echoed around him. Zara's eyes were filled with disbelief as she faced Jace, who had now aligned himself with Kira. Why, Jace? Zara demanded, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and hurt. We trusted you. Jace smirked, his demeanor cold and calculating. Trust is a luxury in this world, Zara. I chose survival over loyalty. Leo clenched his fists, feeling a surge of anger at Jace's betrayal. You're a coward, he spat, stepping forward defiantly. You think siding with Kira will protect you? She'll use you just like she uses everyone else. Enough. Kira's voice rang out, cutting through the tension like a knife. She stepped forward, her presence commanding as she surveyed the scene. It seems we have some unwelcome guests. Finish them off, Jace. With a swift motion, Jace raised his weapon, aiming it directly at Leo and Zara. But before he could pull the trigger, something unexpected happened. A blinding flash of light erupted from behind them. The arrival of allies. From the smoke and dust emerged a group of warriors, Zara's allies who had been hiding in the shadows during the ambush. They charged forward with fierce determination, catching Kira's forces off guard. Now! Zara shouted, rallying her allies as they surged into battle. Leo felt a renewed sense of hope as they fought alongside their comrades. The tide began to turn. Kira's soldiers faltered under the combined strength of Zara's forces and their surprise attack. Let's take down Kira. Leo yelled to Zara as they fought back-to-back against their foes. Together, they pressed forward through the chaos, determined to confront Kira once more. The battlefield transformed into a whirlwind of energy blasts and clashing weapons, a chaotic dance of survival where every moment counted. As they fought their way toward Kira, Leo caught glimpses of Jace struggling against his former allies. There was no remorse in his eyes, only desperation as he realized that he had underestimated their resolve. Confronting Kira again. Finally, they reached Kira at the heart of the battle, a fierce warrior standing tall amidst the chaos. Her eyes burned with fury as she faced them. You think you can defeat me? Kira taunted, her voice dripping with disdain. We're not afraid of you, Zara shot back defiantly. With that declaration hanging in the air, they charged toward her together, Leo feeling the energy surging through him as he prepared for another confrontation. Kira unleashed a wave of energy blasts toward them. Leo instinctively absorbed one of them, feeling its power flow through him like fire igniting his veins. He redirected it back at her with renewed strength. The clash was fierce, energy crackled around them as they exchanged blows, each strike resonating with purpose as they fought for their lives and for those who believed in them. But just when it seemed like victory was within reach, Kira unleashed a devastating attack that sent shockwaves through the battlefield, knocking Leo off balance and sending him sprawling to the ground. A moment of despair. As he struggled to regain his footing, Leo felt despair creeping in. Had they come this far only to fail? Would all their sacrifices be in vain? But then he heard Zara's voice calling out to him, a beacon amidst darkness. Leo! We can't give up now. Her words ignited a spark within him. He pushed himself back up, determination flooding through him once more. He couldn't let fear dictate his actions, not now when everything was on the line. With renewed resolve, Leo focused on absorbing energy from Kira's attacks, each blast fueling him further until he felt invincible. He charged forward once more, dodging her strikes with newfound agility. Together! Zara shouted as they coordinated their movements, fighting side by side like two halves of a whole. In that moment of unity, Leo realized that this battle was not just about defeating Kira, it was about standing up for what they believed in, a chance for redemption not only for himself but for everyone who had suffered under Kira's tyranny. Turning the tide. As they fought fiercely against Kira's relentless onslaught, Leo felt an overwhelming surge of power coursing through him, a connection to everything around him that transcended mere survival. He could feel Zara's strength beside him, together they became a force to be reckoned with. In one final push, Leo unleashed an explosive wave of energy, drawing from every ounce of power he had absorbed throughout their battle. The blast struck Kira head-on, sending her staggering backward in shock. No, she screamed as she struggled to regain her footing, but it was too late, the tide had turned against her. With one last coordinated strike from Zara and Leo together, they overwhelmed Kira completely, her defenses crumbling under their combined strength until finally she fell defeated at their feet. Breathless yet triumphant, Leo stood over her, the realization settling in that they had done it, they had fought back against tyranny and emerged victorious. A new dawn. As silence fell over the battlefield and their allies began to regroup around them, Leo felt an overwhelming sense of relief wash over him mingled with disbelief at what they had accomplished together. We did it, he breathed out incredulously, turning toward Zara who stood beside him, her expression a mix of exhaustion and elation. Yes, she replied softly, her eyes shining with pride. We fought for our people, and we won. But even amidst victory there lingered uncertainty about what lay ahead. There would be challenges still waiting beyond this moment, but together they would face whatever came next, united by purpose forged through struggle. As dawn broke over the horizon, casting light upon the remnants of battle, their future lay before them, filled with possibilities yet unknown but now within reach. Let's rebuild, Leo said firmly, looking around at their allies who stood ready to support them in whatever came next, a new beginning dawning on their world after darkness had threatened to consume it entirely. Zara nodded resolutely, meeting his gaze head-on, filled with determination, reflecting back at him, their journey far from over but now filled with hope instead of despair. Together they would forge a new path, a partnership built not just on necessity but also trust, a bond stronger than any force that sought to tear them apart.